I'm not afraid of this thing called natural selection. Hello, it's August 2022, and I'm going to be revisiting an older video, and I'm going to do a screen capture of that video, and I'm going to share that in this video after this introduction. But before I get into that, I'd like to state that prior to the May 4th, 2013 event, there were a lot of peculiar, strange anomalies that were taking place that I noticed in my life in the city of Calgary. And I'm going to specifically highlight one such event that even had the female confused. Now, about 10 minutes, I would say, or 15 minutes prior to the two former officers approaching me on the scene, there was a white pickup truck, like a brand new white pickup truck, that had pulled in very quickly, circled around, slowed down, close enough that I was able to see the driver. Now, keep in mind, it was dark outside, and I'm almost 100% positive that it was one of the two former officers. And the look that that person gave me was absolutely brutal. Brutal. And they sped out. And I remember looking at this person, and at that moment, I don't know, we were joking around or saying something. And so I was kind of having a chuckle when I looked at this person, and I thought, this is weird. And the female even stated that that was weird. Never thought nothing of it, but just took a mental note of it. Well, as I said, about maybe 15 minutes later, the two former officers showed up. Now, what all that was about, are they connected? I don't know, but my gut feeling, as a descriptive, said that there was something going on. And that's just one example of strange things that were happening. Another example, and there's a video on that, where we were in a Tim Hortons parking lot, a donut shop parking lot, just talking, and a police car had pulled up in front of us, kind of almost in a T position. Didn't say nothing. They sat there for about 5 minutes, and she was freaking out, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's going on here? This is us. There was no other vehicles around me for me to be mistaken that this was directed towards me, and almost pulling in front of me was maybe more of an L position. So the front of their vehicle was in front of mine.
Really good song. Why are your cops there?
I don't know.
Fuck. Fuck, why are the cops there just sitting there? Oh my fucking god. I'm scared. We're not doing anything illegal, right?
As far as I know, we're...
Loiter around the parking lot? Oh my god, you know what? Fuck it, whatever. You know what? We're not doing anything bad. Nothing's going on. Really, dude? Just gonna fucking sit there, dumbass?
Just don't look over there, because we don't want to draw attention.
Things like that were taking place. Now, I'm just going to segue for a moment that it appears that whatever they thought they were doing, investigating or whatever, they were completely on some insane tangent that had no basis in reality. Now, I'm specifically talking about the city of Calgary. And these people, I can't even fathom what more there is that I don't know or don't know yet. And you have to think about the manpower and the resources and the cost and everything else with all this. It's just crazy. So now going into this older video, there's a lot of contradictions. They were contradicting themselves as well as each other. And that's what this is going to highlight. So let's get into it.
As I transition into the second part, I show an example of my telling the trial judge I was not getting a fair trial. contrary to what the appealed Crown is claiming, that I never given any indication I was not getting a fair trial. During this transition, I shared for the first time a piece of evidence of the police deleting most of the audio files from my laptop that was stolen by them. Question: did you punch or kick him in any way? Answer: not that I recall. Question: no need to punch or kick him? Answer: I didn't say that. I said that I don't recall doing so. Answer: I said I don't recall doing so. I didn't say that there wasn't a need for it. Answer: I just said that I don't recall. Question: if you're punching and kicking somebody in the process of handcuffing them. Question: if you punch or kick somebody in the course of handcuffing them, is that because there's a great struggle going on? Answer: not always, no. Question: what circumstances would you ordinarily punch or kick somebody? Answer: in order to just get some form of response. And it continues: it's certainly something that we are taught. A strike in some capacity. Question: there was no punching or headbutting or kicking on the part of Anthony, correct? Answer: that's right. It was right after the two officers found the intestinal gas pills in my pocket, and the former officer stated, "We know what you're about to do to her, you sick fuck." Answer: he became somewhat combative again. A lot of times when people are moderately combative like that, or they're not complying. Answer: I noticed that he was lying on his back on the floor and appeared to have one or both of his arms sort of held up above him in an odd position. And it continues: he thought one of his arms was broken. The handcuffs were tightened again after they found the intestinal gas pills. The pain was so intense and my wrists were bleeding. They refused to take them off for several hours.
Yeah,
Like, none of that would have happened if they didn't do what they did.
yeah, exactly.
This is one of several pieces of evidence neither of my first two lawyers want to present as evidence. Rather, they try to have the officers describe the scene. However, as you can see, I did submit this as evidence when I took over the trial. The following screenshots have red underline, which is my primary focus. The green underline is a tangent of interest. Answer: people that are up to no good generally back their vehicles into parking stalls in a position where they've got a good view of what's going on, and by chance, so that they can see if the police or someone else is approaching.
Now I'm just going to pause here for a quick moment and highlight something here. The two former police officers testified that I had backed into the parking stall, which I did. But their reason was it was peculiar to them. And they furthered that reason by stating that people do back into parking stalls so they can see who's coming and going from the entrance of the parking lot. Now, what no one stated, that I was facing, because I was backed into the parking stall, I was facing the opposite way from the entrance to the parking lot.
So the officer states I was backed into the parking stall. Now switching to a tangent of my focus, he had more control of me than I had of him. I would like to highlight the former officer states I was reaching for the steering wheel, which I used to lean on to speak to him through the window and pull myself forward. Answer: I then observed him to reach for the gear shifter with his right hand. My reaching for the steering wheel changed to reaching for the gear shifter. Answer: his right hand reached for the gear shifter on the right side of his steering wheel. I believe he was going to put the van into gear. So now how the former officer links the steering wheel to the gear shifter is made known. Answer. His right arm is repeatedly going back and forth like he's trying to reach for the gear shifter. The former officer changes his story when he realizes it was not making sense. Question. And were you certain he was reaching for the gear lever? Answer. That's what it appeared to me. Answer. I don't know for sure that's what he was doing. And it continues. So I can't be sure. In my opinion, it appeared as though that right hand was reaching to the right side of the steering wheel. My perception. Somehow the former officer goes from being certain to not certain, with the trial judge exaggerating it out to be a fact. I almost killed the officer. Answer. Had reversed into one of the parking stalls in the southern part of the lot. This is important as he's trying to paint a sinister picture to the trial judge. Answer. I guess it would be east side of that parking lot. So I am at the southern part of the parking lot, facing east. No mention where the entrance is. Answer. A dark color minivan. And later, answer. A dark colored minivan. Another tangent is the description of my vehicle, which neither of them got correct. The vehicle I had at the time was light in color and no tinted windows. They also took photos of it, which I never received in either disclosure package or from any other source. Answer. I guess it would be east side of that parking lot. Still no mention where the entrance to the parking lot is. It appears this fact was being suppressed because it changes the entire picture of the scene. Answer. The vehicle parked here facing north, and continues, and this illuminated the inside of the vehicle. So either I'm parked facing east or north at the southern eastern side of the parking lot, and they alleged I was parked this way to have a good view to see if anyone, such as police, were entering into the parking lot. The yellow is where I parked and the direction I was facing. The arrows show the entrance and the route traveled to get to where I was. The way I was parked put me in the most disadvantaged position to see who was coming in. And these Google Earth screenshots would have clarified the scene when the officers were testifying. This would have been my view looking over my shoulder, and I still cannot see the entrance. The main road, just beyond the lit up part, the female pointed out a police cube van traveling at a high rate of speed. I had just seen it go by and never gave it any further thought. She then turned around in her seat and said, "They're coming in." I still never gave it any thought. Page 70, lines 5 to 8, quote, officer states, "My memory is pretty good, but not good enough. That I'm going to look at his license plate and then talk to him for 2 minutes and then come back." Before I continue, the officer testified that his memory was not good enough to recall something after 2 minutes. The officers began to make their notes approximately 180 minutes after the event. The trial began approximately 303,000 minutes after the event, and the trial continued approximately 864,000 minutes after the event. So the officer testifies his memory is not that good. Apparently, this is the only thing he told the truth about. Answer. I tell him, essentially, that he's being stopped because he's in the park after closed. So here the former officer testifies the first thing he said to me was, why they were there. This narrative makes me out to be disrespectful. Answer. I mean, if that's incorrect, then I need to change the way I do that. He also admits to the possibility that he may have made mistakes during the encounter, casting doubt on himself, which the trial judge ignored. Question. And no reason was given as to why he should remain in the vehicle. Answer. Not at the time. Question. Doesn't mean that you've really told them anything as to why they have to remain in the vehicle, correct? Answer. At that moment in time, no. Question. He's just arbitrarily waiting for you and your partner to decide what to do. Answer: yes. Question: you haven't indicated to him in any way as to why he should wait. Answer: at that moment in time, no. This was the partner of the now former officer telling things much differently.
Yeah,
Like, none of that would have happened if they didn't do what they did.
yeah, exactly.
Before I go into some samples from the 3 letters by the female, throughout the whole trial I was insisting I was not receiving a fair trial, something all my lawyers told me from the start would happen, but were too chicken shit to do anything about it. This is me addressing the court. Why I feel I haven't had a fair trial. This is very difficult for me to have to stand before the court because I'm emotionally attached to it, and I do have post-traumatic stress from the event which impacts me. This is important because the appeal Crown prosecutor is trying to say I felt as though I was having a fair trial. When I got my laptop back, which the 2 officers told me I'd never see again, I had files missing. For example, only with shortcuts, not being able to open the files. In the second disclosure package, after the sex crimes unit cleared me, they told the officers there will be no warrant allowing them to go through my laptop. Yet, this and other evidence shows them going through my stuff as late as July 2013. This makes sense as the 2 officers, according to the second disclosure package, claimed my property went missing. They do not know I have this, but I suspect they will now. The organization is about the members, and all of its politics behind the scene bullshit is never going to stop. How are members supposed to stand up and try to make a difference when they don't know the truth? Maybe you should continue working at the organization. Can't you patch things up with the new executive director? I don't understand why the new executive director didn't say anything before you did all that paperwork and went to court for Bob. If he and the board didn't want to evict him, then what was the point of going to court? Did he get charged for assaulting you? This would be from the 3rd letter just before my last day back.
And you know what? Now that I think about it, what happened last night, or just whatever, like, you didn't get charged for anything. They weren't going to charge you for anything. They just made up those charges. It's like, resisting is arrest and assaulting an officer.
Yeah,
Like, none of that would have happened if they didn't do what they did.
yeah, exactly.
So, like, I don't know. Like, they weren't going to arrest you for anything. They weren't going to do anything. For what? They couldn't do anything. They weren't doing anything.
Yeah. I know.
Because they all fucking planned it.
It is what it is. So I offer this to give more of a flavor as to the injustice that I had to deal with and how I was being accused of everything that everyone else was guilty of. Not only the 2 former police officers, but also how the trial was being conducted by the Crown prosecutor, as well as the trial judge for the trial proper, and everyone else that followed. But I just want to highlight something again, that the first appeal judge for the Queen's Bench appeal that I had seized, Judge Nixon, was completely on my side. And we seized him, and the Crown prosecutor agreed to seizing that judge We had to wait 4 months for his next availability. And the day that the appeal was to proceed again, they changed judges literally, as I was told, at the last minute for some strange reason. And that appeal judge basically went along with the injustice. So that tells me that there are still good people, as few as they may be, in the justice system in Calgary as well as the province of Alberta. So take what you will from this, but really I just wanted to highlight the injustice and how everything was spun around. And in the end, because I took over the trial proper after terminating my second lawyer, I made it very difficult for them to just willy-nilly convict me, because everything that they wanted to base the conviction on, I completely debunked with independent evidence. And this is how people everywhere are getting wrongfully convicted. Here's the thing, and just before I finish up, society overall, they don't seem to care until it happens to them as an individual. Society wants to focus more on being entertained. Nobody cares about the truth or the facts. And that's a reflection of this late stage, of the last stage of civilization, the age of decadence. And there's many people producing, for example, content online that's entertaining and becoming wealthy even for stupidity. And there's countless of people like myself who have stood up to injustice, tried to whistleblow and expose immoral things that impact society and no one ever hears about. Just things to think about. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Do you understand my story yet? Two former officers' inconsistencies in their own testimonies. And I really want to highlight something. I don't know. What was I going to highlight? Is the two former officers testified that I had backed into a parking stall, and for some strange reason, to them that was extremely cut. For them, that was really peculiar. Now, what I really want to focus on is how they state that people back into parking stalls to cut.